Hey everyone, my name is Kevin, and in this video we're going to be talking about the best checking accounts to get in 2020. I'm going to tell you my honest thoughts on the best checking accounts to get, and even tell you about one that has a 5.09% interest rate. So I make videos like this all the time about personal finance, real estate, passive income, and reviews of financial products. So if you like that sort of thing, be sure to check out my other videos and subscribe to the channel. And be sure to drop a like on this video if it helped you out in any way. I'd really appreciate if you did so. Now let's jump right into it. The first thing you need to know about checking accounts is that most checking accounts out there are awful. Instead of banks paying you interest, you end up paying the banks in fees. Banks like Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, Citibank, and a whole lot of banks out there will charge you account maintenance fees, which could be $10, $12, $15 every single month unless you meet certain criteria just to have the account with them. That is ridiculous. You shouldn't pay account maintenance fees. You should instead be getting interest from these banks. And to top it all off, these banks pay you close to 0% interest. So instead of getting $10 or $15 a month, you're going to be paying that to have these accounts. That's ridiculous. I'm going to show you in this video a couple of checking accounts, all of which have interest and all of which are free to own. The number one checking account for 2020 is called SoFi Money. It's an account that I love and I personally use and have for some time. I've recommended it on my channel before, and the reason is because it's an overall great account and it's free to use. There are a few key reasons why I love SoFi Money, and I'll detail them here. Number one, like I said, it's free to use. There are no account minimums. There are no account maintenance fees to have SoFi Money account. Number two, it has a great interest rate of 1.60% as of the date of this video. Now, when you compare that to other banks out there like Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, and Citibank that have interest rates on both their checking and saving accounts of near 0%, you can see why earning 1.6% on your money is so good. Additionally, SoFi Money is FDIC insured through the sweep program up to $1.5 million, which is way more money than I know that I'll need to have FDIC insured, but it certainly is a nice thing to have. And lastly, SoFi Money has all the flexibility of a checking account with all of the benefits of a high yield savings account. So it's really a hybrid account combining the best of both worlds. If you want simplicity in your financial life and you still want to have a good high yield account which is free to have, SoFi Money is going to be the one for you. That's why I like it so much, because I don't really have to worry about juggling my money around a bunch of different accounts. I have a few different accounts, but that's mainly because I've tried a few of them out and I've whittled them down to the ones that I love the most. And SoFi Money is definitely my number one go-to account for my everyday checking needs. SoFi Money even has a lot of other features which are really nice to have. For example, they allow free ATM withdrawals at any ATM that accepts Visa. So this is basically almost every ATM that you're going to see out there. They're going to actually reimburse you ATM fees. There's no limit on the amount of money that they will reimburse via ATM as far as I'm aware. And it is a very convenient thing to have because there are ATMs on every single corner, but they might not be for your traditional banks. For example, I had Chase before as a bank, and if I wanted to withdraw money from an ATM, it had to be from a Chase branded ATM. Otherwise, I would incur an ATM fee. Not so with SoFi Money. I can use any ATM that accepts Visa and they will reimburse, which is definitely a very nice benefit to have. Some of the other cool features of SoFi Money include the fact that you can actually order physical checks for free from SoFi Money. Now, this is a standout feature that I think is really convenient for those who have to, for example, pay rent with a check and they can't pay with a credit card, or they can't use a debit card to pay their rent. To have physical checks and being able to order them for free is definitely an added benefit of this account. It's something that's very unusual when compared to other online checking accounts. There's a bunch of other features to SoFi Money as well. For example, there's no foreign transaction fees. You can do mobile check deposit, and there's a bunch of other features to SoFi Money. One of the coolest, newest features of SoFi Money that they recently added is called a vault on your account. So if you have SoFi Money, you can actually create earmarked fund accounts called vaults. So you could rename these vaults whatever you want. For example, I named one of mine Baby Fund because I was saving money in that account to pay for the expenses of our upcoming birth of our child. And to have that earmarked is really kind of interesting because you could send money and psychologically it actually feels good. It's still going to earn the same amount of interest as the rest of your account, but to have it separated off, it can really be motivating when you want to have those saving goals. SoFi generally also has a lot of good features that I've talked about on their website, which can help beginners in personal finance understand more about financial products, mortgages, student loans, and a lot of other things. They have free resources online that you could take advantage of if you want to learn more about personal finance. I have a really in-depth review of SoFi Money, which I recommend checking out on my channel, which I go into more detail about some of the key features they have there, but suffice it to say, SoFi is a great company. The only real downside to this account that I've found for some people is the fact that you can't deposit cash directly, but that's going to be the same with almost every online checking account out there. You can't deposit cash unless you use an intermediary such as another bank and then transfer the money, or use a service like Green Dot, which will cost you $4 or $5 if you want to deposit cash. If you're okay with not having that feature, SoFi Money is probably going to fit all of the different features that you need in a bank. But if you need to deposit a lot of cash, I have another checking account later in the video, which I will detail for you, which can be a great addition. If you're going to sign up for SoFi Money, I highly recommend using someone's referral link online to ensure that you get a bonus for opening the account. Last year, they had a bonus of between $25 and $50 for opening an account with SoFi Money if you deposited $100. I have a referral link below. Please do not feel a need to use it. Use someone else's if you'd like, or go directly to SoFi Money, whatever works for you. Just ensure that you get that bonus if you're going to open the account, because it is a small minimum of $100 today that you need to deposit in order to get free money. Moving on to the next account. It's called Capital One 360, and it is an account that can be great for those who want to be able to deposit cash. I also made another video on my channel going in depth on Capital One 360, so I recommend checking that out if you want a little more detail. But here is the big takeaway. Capital One 360 is free to open and free to have. You do not need to have a minimum amount of money in the checking account in order to avoid fees. There are no basic account maintenance fees on the Capital One 360 checking account. The big plus to the Capital One 360 checking account is not the Capital One cafes, which are frankly kind of odd, but it's actually the fact that you could deposit cash into this account at any of their branches or any of their ATMs in certain cities. Now, it is relatively limited. If you're in a more rural environment, you probably will not be able to access this, but if you're in a big city, you certainly will. And if you need to deposit or withdraw cash for free, the Capital One 360 checking account can be a great account to get. The Capital One 360 checking account also pays interest, which again is kind of unusual for a checking account in a really good way, but it only pays about 0.2% interest rate as of the date of this video. But if you want to have a higher interest rate, all you have to do is open a Capital One 360 savings account, and every time you have cash in your checking account that you don't immediately need, you can instantaneously transfer it to the Capital One 360 savings account. And that account, as of the date of this video, has an interest rate of 1.7%, which is a great interest rate to get, and it is FDIC insured. This checking account also has features like mobile check deposit. You can actually check your credit score with Capital One 360, which can be very helpful and something I highly recommend doing. If you want to know more about credit scores, look at my other videos. I have more detail on them, but if you can check it, chances are you're going to monitor it and it's going to grow over time, which is a really positive thing. You can also set goals with this account and do automatic savings plans with the Capital One 360 checking account, which can be really good if you want to build up an emergency fund, which is highly important to do. But the big takeaway with this account is that it is a very good account to have. It has no fees, it has a high interest rate when you combine it with the checking and with the savings account, and it has physical branches for when you need to deposit cash. This account can solve the issue that a lot of people have with high yield online checking and savings accounts by having those physical branches in select cities. Okay, so what if you just want the highest interest rate that you could possibly get with a checking account? Well, I have an account for you if you're willing to jump through the hoops every single month in order to get the high interest rate. It's called the Consumers Credit Union Checking Account. The Consumers Credit Union Checking Account has an interest rate of 5.09%, which is absolutely astounding. I have never seen a checking account or a savings account with an interest rate this high in today's low interest rate environment. And for those wondering, this account is safe. It is backed by the National Credit Union Administration, which protects your deposits up to $250,000. It's basically FDIC insurance for credit unions. The downside to this account is that you cannot just get this 5.09% interest rate without doing a little bit of work. Let me break down what you need to do in order to get this. Number one, you must make 12 debit card purchases totaling $100 or more. Number two, you must set up direct deposit or ACH transfer at least $500 per month into this account. Number three, you must select to get e-statements instead of physical statements in the mail, which is not a big deal. And number four, you must spend at least $1,000 on your CCU credit card every single month. Probably the most annoying of these factors is the 12 debit card transactions, because you're not really going to be earning any rewards, and I don't really know how you get around doing 12 debit card transactions totaling $100 unless you actually did them. But really, it's not that big of a deal if you are getting that really high interest rate if you have a very large balance in there. And the $1,000 that you must spend on the Consumers Credit Union credit card is actually not that big of a deal either, at least I'd imagine for most people. And what I mean by that is that the CCU actually has credit cards online that you can get, one of which is called the Visa Signature Rewards. And it's actually a pretty decent credit card. It has no annual fee, and you get 3% on grocery stores and 2% on gas. So if you spend $200 a week on groceries and $50 a week on gas, this card is actually going to be pretty good from a reward standpoint, and it's going to fulfill the amount of money that you need to spend in order to get that insane 5.09% interest rate on your checking account. If you have more than $10,000 in this account, you're going to be scaled down on the interest rate that you earn. It's going to be around 0.1 to 0.2% on the amount of money over $10,000. And if you don't meet all of the criteria, you're going to be dropped down to 0.01% interest rate, which is terrible. But there is a middle ground if you do some of the features and not all of them. But really, if you're going for it, you might as well go for it and get the 5.09% interest rate. If you do happen to meet the criteria listed above, you will be eligible to get ATM reimbursements at basically any ATM, and you're able to use over 30,000 ATMs for free to withdraw cash. For those who have looked at this account before, they may have realized that it is actually a credit union based in Chicago with Chicago-based branches. Now, I don't live anywhere close to Chicago, but I could still join as long as I paid $5 to join the credit union. Then I would have access to all the features that I would need to online. So if you do get this account, leave $10,000 in there and watch the interest roll in, because it is a great interest rate and you need to take advantage of it. If you happen to meet all of those criteria, you might as well get that 5% interest rate, that sweet, sweet high interest rate on as much money as you possibly can, up to $10,000. What do you think? Would you get the Consumers Credit Union checking account, or is it too much work to do? I personally wouldn't really want to do that, because I probably would do it for a month or two and then I would forget to do, for example, the debit card transactions, and I wouldn't actually meet that high interest rate. It would be dropped down to 0.01. I've got too many other things to worry about in my life, and I'd rather focus my attention on earning more money, doing well at my job, and making videos like this, as opposed to trying to get every little box checked. I wouldn't want to worry about that, which is why I want simplicity when I have a checking account, and this checking account wouldn't really do it for me. So if you guys want 5%, be sure to like the video and then get the Consumers Credit Union checking account, do all the other factors. But if you just like the video, I'd appreciate you giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. Let me know what you think in the comments below about these products. I want to hear from you guys, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.